I'm Dr. Mark Sehl, and I'm with Dr. Lucas, and we're going to make a video, and Dr. Lucas is going to tell me a few things about his life today. And this is
okay, I'll do that.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll do it to the best I can.
Okay, good. I'm glad of that. So here we are, and it's the YouTube channel, Therapy for the Heart. So when you sat down, you made a comment about these chairs and how you got them. So what was that story?
Well, the story there was that my wife became interested in a woman and her husband who were buying and selling things so that they could make a living out of buying and selling properties of various kinds, including things that people brought in to sell and stuff like that. So and Marie was happy to be helpful, and she bought a number of things, including the chairs that you and I are sitting in, and the one back over there behind you. And anything more? Not in this room, but we have some other things that she bought, and she had good taste, but not comfortable taste, I must say, because these things are made out of kind of wood that's very fancy, and they're a little tedious on the back.
On the back, yeah.
Right.
But they're beautiful looking.
But I got used to living with them over the many years. And
can I ask you a question about it? How did you meet Marie?
How did I meet her?
Yeah.
That's a very difficult question, because right now I can't focus in on exactly how I met her. Oh yeah, now I recall. Very good. That was interesting. Boy, am I glad that you asked me, because you lit it up for me. I was at NYU going into a class there, a school there, that was being run by a very wonderful teacher. I don't recall his full name, but I thought very, very highly of him when I knew him, and he was very helpful to me, because a couple of other people didn't like me, professors, and they found fault with me on occasion, but I was very educative with him and for him, because he understood an awful lot, and he understood my interests in what was going on. The school had accepted 20 women students and 20 male students a semester in that school at that time.
Is that where you met Marie?
Yeah, that's where. Well, I didn't meet her there. I actually met her in a place where you could get a drink of something, or a little bite of something before you went into the classroom.
Oh.
And I was taken by her. She had beautiful sense of clothes, and I just thought she was the best woman you could ever imagine. And the funny thing was, somebody else was already on her tail very severely at the same time. But it worked out okay. But there is a secondary story involved with that, which is my own greed at the time. When I found out that there were so many girls in the school in the same program I was in, and that she was going to be in, I thought, what a waste. I've got to try them all out to be sure that I'm getting the best one of all of them. And so I did that. And it took me the whole semester to work my way through all of those women, because I tried them all, and I had little attempts at trying to see who was the best of them all there. And at the same time, I knew that I really would want my wife, but I figured there's no sense in wasting these women when they're accessible and so forth. So, but eventually, and this other guy was also on her, after her, and so one day I was finished with those women, and I said to her, by the way, I'm taking you home today. And she said, well, somebody already asked me home today. I said, well, yes, I know, I figured as much, but I'm the one who's going to take you home today, so you might as well tell him right now. And he and I and her and she were all in the same little experimental group together. We formed a little unit together, and the three of us were friendly, and I was just a little more exciting for her than the other guy was, that's all. So when I said that I'm taking you home today, she said, well, in that case, I'll have to tell him. And she did. And that was the end of his hoping that he would grab a hold of her eventually before I got to her. But it didn't work out that way. And she was a graduate. She was a person who was from the college on the it was at that time it was a college for women primarily.
Was it Hunter?
Hunter College.
Hunter.
Yeah, but they also had some men there too, and they had some wonderful other teachers there, some of whom were male and some were female, but mostly a lot of male people there, and they were all very well educated people. And eventually I got introduced to all of those people through her, and we used to have them when she moved in with me eventually. We used to have them at our house, our apartment, and we had a great time learning from them and talking with them, because they had a different pitch on things than I had, and also she had a different pitch on things than I had with her at first, and so on and so forth.
How were your pitches different?
Well, she was very interested in, for the first few things, she had a Christian background, and I was an atheist at that time, and still am, and she became one also after a long time. After we were living together, didn't take long, but she had. So she moved in with me, and eventually we tried to get married. And and when we tried to get married, we got to a guy upstate New York who guaranteed us that he would not say anything religious, even though that was his preference. And so he said a little bit of statements, and then all of a sudden, just at the end, he threw an "and in the sight of God." So I wanted to kick him in the balls, but I didn't. And but we got our certificate of wedlock from him anyway, and and then we just loved each other a lot, and very soon we had 3 children very quickly. And I had there were a lot of very interesting things, but the story I like most, I'll tell you about my beginning with my wife and her family. She was, her mother, of course, was a very Orthodox Christian, and she had been away and didn't want to have anything to do with my wife when she discovered that she was living with a guy who was an atheist. So I didn't do anything for a while, and then I found out that she had been staying away from where she was living. Her own place of choice was not too far from where we were. And she was, oh, by the way, she was a woman who came from Ireland, and all the musicians who played in Manhattan and around Manhattan used to stay at her place when they arrived there. And of course, she knew all of them from her origins. Mm-hmm. She was born there, and she was a real Irish woman. So what happened to her is, at some point, I called her up and said, I know that you're in the neighborhoods for some reason. I forget who told me, but I thought you and I ought to get acquainted with each other, because, and I'll tell you why after we talk a bit. So I said to her, by the way, I hope you don't mind if I have a drink while we're talking together, because I really like to have a drink when we're talking. And she said, well, that's okay, you can have a drink, but I'm not going to have one right now. So I said, okay, that's fine with me. So I gave myself a drink, and I said, I like to have a drink every so often, especially if I'm chit-chatting with somebody. I like to have a drink. So she said, you might as well enjoy your drink. So we chit-chatted, and then finally I said, I think I'm getting dry, and I'd like to have a second drink. And before you knew it, I was telling her I'd like to have a third drink. And then finally I said to her, I really need a drink right now, because I don't know how well you're doing with me and how well I'm doing with you. So I said, by the way, will you have a drink now? She said, well, I don't mind if I do. So, which is exactly the way she spoke. And I loved it, and I loved it. And after we talked quite a bit more, because she did get acquainted with me as a result of the drinking that I did, and then the drink she finally did. And I said to her, anytime you want a drink, you can tell Marie or me whatever you want, and we'll get it for you. So when we were finished talking, I said, why don't you come inside now? We had 2 living rooms facing the Hudson River, because I had gotten this whole apartment from a friend of mine who decided to move with his wife to Paris, to France, and live there. And if he decides to come back, we'll have to move out, which never happened. What did happen was that when Castro took over Cuba, a bunch of the criminals in Cuba got into this neighborhood that we were living in, 127th Street overlooking the Hudson River. What did happen was that they caused some ruckuses in the hall and in the different apartment houses, and because they were doing, they were pushing people out because of the noises that they were making, and then eventually because there were corpses in the hall after a while, because they were fighting over who could be in, who couldn't be in, and if they got into a fight over something in the hall, there would be corpses on our floor, in the 4th floor, and we just couldn't do that. And so Marie said, we have to move out and we have to find a place, and this is the place here that we bought.
That's some story.
Yeah.
And she, I understand, had a lot to do with finding the place. She was very good at.
Yeah, she was very good at everything she did.
Brownstone.
She was remarkable.
Yeah.
But what happened then is I got acquainted with the Irish culture and the Irish everything, and she got acquainted with me, and she loved me, and she loved the kids that we had. When she saw our 3 kids being taken care of by Marie, she held her 3 kids on her arms, and when she took them to the street with there was a little playground there, she just carried them with her arms to the playground and took care of them there. And she said, we have to go and buy some carpentry, not carpentry, but what do you call it? It was really a large rug, but she cut it down, and because of the big long hall to the back of the place, she cut it up so that it was now a rug going all the way to the back, where I would be seeing my patients for the first time. Right. And so we stayed there until we had to get out of that place, and then we came here. And when we were here, Marie took me and her aunt to a place on 52nd Street. Oh, I can't remember the name right at this moment, but it was a very big food place and place where people met together in big crowds of people, and musicians played there a lot, and they all knew Marie's mother. Every one of them knew Marie's mother because
it was like maybe an Irish bar.
It was a big, gigantic Irish place, and I can't remember the name, who it was, but Marie very quickly learned everybody's name, including the Taoiseach of Ireland, who visited. He knew who she was. Everybody knew Marie.
She was very much.
She was
very well loved.
Huh?
She was very well loved.
She was very well loved, and was wonderful with everybody. Everybody loved her, and I'm sorry.
I know she's not doing well right now.
Huh?
She's not doing well right now.
No, she's not.
Yeah,
of course.
it's okay.
It hasn't been for 9, 10 years now.
No, so that's a big loss for you.
Yes, it's a big, gigantic loss for me. So at any rate.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's
I know. I'm just sorry that that happened.
So eventually, we also found out her brother didn't like the fact that I was Jewish, and he carried on about it. But the mother decided that that it was okay in this case, because I may not be Catholic, but I'm not a Yid, you know.
Right.
So it worked out okay.
This is Mark Sehl for YouTube channel, Therapy for the Heart. I'm just going to adjust the camera and the battery, and we'll be right back in a minute.
Okay, so you say that again, what you said?
It's Mark Sehl.
Yeah.
And the channel on YouTube is Therapy for the Heart.
Therapy for the Heart. It's
Speaking
wonderful. Wonderful.
Went
down south.
Yeah. That's right.
That's right. That's
we
where
went
we went.
down
And
south.
then you came back with me all the way up north again.
That's right.
And I don't know what you did up north. You went to, I don't know whether you went home from there or you knew somebody else.
No. We went down. I mean, no. We went down south.
Yeah.
And we saw Clint Eastwood.
That's right. That's right.
Problem with the Curve.
Right. Yes.
Baseball
It
story.
was a good movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot.
I did too. It was nice going with you. It was
Yes.
something different to do. So
Right.
after that, we went out and we did decide to walk uptown.
That's right.
And on the way, you got some delicious yogurt.
Right. Yes. That's
That was
right.
good. It's good
Yes.
yogurt. And then I walked you up here, and then I took the train back down south.
What did you take back?
I took the C train.
The C train.
Yeah.